The guests laughed when Arya dropped the champagne tray. Her hands were shaking and her uniform was stained. The billionaire's fiancé smirked, but what he did next shocked everyone. "Stay with me until the end. You won't believe how this story turns out." And before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that prove kindness always wins. A few hours earlier, no one could have imagined that this dinner party would change two lives forever. Imagine defending a stranger and having your entire life change in 30 seconds. This is the story of a waitress who had nothing and a billionaire who had everything except the one thing money can't buy. Arya Montgomery moved through Le Jardin Étoilé like a ghost. At 23, working 3 jobs just to survive, she'd mastered invisibility. Rich people didn't see waitresses. She poured water for the man at table 12. Ethan Cross, 32, CEO of Crosstech Industries worth $8 billion. His ice blue eyes never left his phone. A woman in red approached. Vivian Ashford. Stunning, cold, entitled. "Ethan, darling, let's discuss our marriage arrangement," Vivian said, sitting with practiced elegance. Arya froze while folding napkins nearby. "This was your mother's idea, not mine," Ethan replied flatly. "Don't be tedious. This is a transaction. Your company needs our political connections. We need your fortune. Love is for poor people with nothing better to hope for." Arya felt something twist in her chest. She'd been poor her entire life, raised in foster care, working since 14. Hope was all she'd ever had. "Miss," Vivian snapped her fingers, "champagne. Make it quick." As Arya poured, Vivian wrinkled her nose. "What is that smell? Poverty? When did you last wash that uniform? You reek of cheap coffee and desperation." Heat flooded Arya's face. The uniform was clean, but she'd worked the morning shift at a coffee shop. "I apologize, ma'am," Arya said quietly. "You apologize? You should be ashamed. Do you know how much I paid for this dress?" "That's enough," Ethan said sharply. "I'm maintaining standards. The staff work harder in one day than you've worked in your entire life. She's doing her job. You're being cruel for entertainment." Ethan stood, placing $500 bills on the table. "We're finished, Vivian. Tell your mother the answer is no. It will always be no." He walked away. Vivian trembled with rage. "This is your fault," she hissed at Arya. "You deliberately came here to humiliate me. I'll have you fired. I'll make sure you never work in this city again." Something inside Arya snapped. "No," she said quietly. "What did you just say?" "I said no. You can't fire me. You can't ruin my life because someone finally told you the truth." Arya's voice grew stronger. "I've worked 3 jobs since I was 16. I've slept in my car. I've been invisible to people like you my entire life. You have everything money can buy, and you're still miserable, still cruel, still empty." Vivian fled. Arya's manager appeared, purple with rage. "My office. Now." "I know," Arya said tiredly. "I'll get my things." "Excuse me." Arya turned. Ethan Cross stood there, his expression unreadable. "What's your name?" "Arya Montgomery." "You just threw away your job to defend yourself against someone who could make your life very difficult. That was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both." Something flickered across his face, almost a smile. "I'm looking for a personal assistant, someone honest, someone who isn't afraid to speak truth to power." He handed her a business card. "Be at this address tomorrow morning at 8. Don't be late." Then he was gone. Arya stared at the card, her entire life suspended between one breath and the next. What would you do in her place? Arya didn't sleep. At 8 a.m., she stood in Crosstech's lobby wearing her only professional dress, clutching Ethan's card like a lifeline. The 62nd floor was another world. Diane Fletcher, Ethan's executive assistant for 7 years, looked at Arya with pure contempt. "You must be the waitress. Sit there. Don't touch anything." 40 minutes later, Ethan emerged from a meeting. "Miss Montgomery, you came. You told me not to be late. Diane, hold my calls. Miss Montgomery, come with me." In his enormous office, Ethan studied her. "Do you know why I offered you this position? In 10 years, nobody has spoken to me the way you did. You told Vivian she had everything and was still miserable. That took courage. I need someone who will tell me truth, even when it's uncomfortable." "Why me?" Arya whispered. "I could hire someone with experience." "I had you investigated. Arya Montgomery, 23, foster care, high school honors despite working 2 jobs, no debts except student loans, no family." He closed the folder. "You're invisible to the world, which means no ulterior motives, no connections trying to use you. You survived a system designed to break people like you. That's exceptional." Tears burned in Arya's eyes. Nobody had ever called her exceptional. "The salary is $200,000 a year plus benefits. You'll manage my schedule, handle correspondence, attend events. Can you handle that?" "Yes." "Good. You start." The door burst open. Vivian swept in, her eyes landing on Arya. "Ethan, we need to talk, privately. We have nothing to discuss. Leave." "But we do." Vivian pulled out her phone. "I had my investigator pull security footage from the coffee shop where she works. Ethan comes in every morning. And every morning this waitress is there watching him. She manufactured that scene, knew I'd react, knew you'd defend her. She played you." Arya's face burned. "That's not true, isn't it? Poor waitress working so hard. Then suddenly the billionaire saves her. She's a con artist who'll steal your information, sell secrets." "Enough." Ethan's voice was quiet but deadly. He moved to stand beside Arya. "You're trying to destroy her because I humiliated you. This woman never approached me, never tried to get my attention. She defended herself against your cruelty, that's all." "You're making a mistake," Vivian hissed. "The only mistake was that dinner. Get out. And Vivian, if you or your family try to harm Miss Montgomery, I will destroy every connection you have. Do you understand?" Vivian fled. "Thank you," Arya whispered. "But what if she's right? What if people think—" "Do you care what people think?" I don't know." "Then let me make it simple. You're my assistant. People will attack you, they'll assume things. The question is whether you're strong enough to survive it." Arya thought about every foster home that hadn't wanted her, every customer who'd treated her like garbage. "I'm strong enough," she said. "Good, because it's going to get much worse before it gets better." Over 2 weeks, Arya transformed. New apartment, new clothes, training sessions. And Diane's constant sabotage, impossible deadlines, wrong instructions, 1,000 tiny ways to make her fail. But Arya didn't fail. She learned Ethan's preferences, his routines, the hidden rules. She also learned the ice-cold billionaire had moments of unexpected humanity. Like the photograph he quickly hid, a beautiful woman smiling. "Someone who taught me feelings are a liability," he said when Arya asked, or when he quietly helped a crying intern transfer teams. "So you're not as heartless as you pretend," Arya observed. "Don't mistake strategy for sentiment. but his voice had been gentle. Slowly, Arya began to see past the ice, and she was starting to care about Ethan Cross, not as a boss, but as a person who'd been hurt so badly he'd locked his heart away. 3 weeks in, everything changed. "You'll come to the charity gala tomorrow," Ethan told her. "I've arranged for a stylist. Be ready by 7. The next evening, Arya stared at herself transformed. Midnight blue silk dress, hair in waves, makeup perfect. She looked like she belonged. The car arrived. At the hotel, she saw him. Ethan in a tuxedo was devastating. When his eyes landed on her, he went completely still. "Arya," he said, his voice different, lower. "You look beautiful." He offered his arm. At the touch, electricity jumped between them, and across the ballroom, Vivian Ashford watched with eyes full of venomous hatred. "Would you walk into a room full of people who want to destroy you?" The ballroom was a battlefield. Arya felt sharp eyes tracking her, whispered conversations stopping as she passed. Ethan introduced her to senators, CEOs, power brokers. Then Catherine Vandermeer approached. "Personal assistant. How modern. Where did you attend university, dear?" A trap. "Community college for 2 years. I couldn't afford to finish. But I learned more working 3 jobs than most learn in 4 years of university. Poverty teaches efficiency, resourcefulness, and survival." Catherine's smile froze. She'd expected shame, not honesty. "Well done," Ethan murmured. "She was testing you." He led her toward a distinguished man, Richard Ashford, Vivian's father. "Richard, this is Arya Montgomery." Richard's smile was genuine. "The young woman Vivian told me about. Don't look terrified. My daughter is passionate, but she'll recover. She needs to hear no more often." He glanced at Ethan. "I hope there are no hard feelings. I can offer those political connections without marriage strings. Strictly business." As they talked, Vivian appeared in pure white. "Father, I need to speak with you. It's about the photograph." Ethan went rigid. "What photograph?" Richard frowned. Vivian showed her phone. "Taken last week outside Arya's apartment." The photo showed Arya leaving her old building and Tommy Reeves standing nearby, her ex-boyfriend, the one arrested for armed robbery. "I had her followed," Vivian said sweetly. "Imagine discovering she has connections to organized crime. Tommy Reeves, convicted felon, member of the South Side crew. They were photographed together last week." "That's not..." Arya started. "Not what?" "The photo is time-stamped. Tommy was released 3 weeks ago, same week you got your job. Quite a coincidence." Vivian smiled with triumph. "My investigator has phone records, text messages showing they've been in contact." "That's impossible," Arya said. "I blocked his number years ago." Then explained the transfers, $500 from your account to an account linked to Tommy Reeves, 3 days ago. The room spun. "I didn't transfer anything. Check your bank records. The proof is right there." Ethan's expression turned to ice. The warmth was gone. "We'll discuss this later," he said coldly. "In private." "Ethan, you have to believe me. Later, Miss Montgomery." He walked away, leaving Arya humiliated before 100 eyes. The car ride was silent and terrible. "I didn't do it," Arya said finally. "Whatever evidence she showed you is fake. Then explain the photograph. Your ex-boyfriend, fresh out of prison, was outside your building the same week you started working for me." "I can't explain it because I don't know. There are no coincidences in my world, only calculations and consequences. 3 hours ago you called me beautiful. Now I'm back to Miss Montgomery." 3 hours ago, I didn't know you had connections to organized crime. I don't have connections, he's my ex, and yet money was transferred from your account to his. Either you did it, or someone hacked your account. Either way, you're a liability. The car stopped. Arya reached for the door. For what it's worth, she said quietly. I thought you were different, but you're empty, and you'll stay empty forever because you're too afraid to believe in anything real. She left. Inside the car, Ethan sat frozen, his hand on his chest where his heart beat too fast. What if she's telling the truth? But he couldn't afford to believe. At 6:00 a.m., exhausted, Arya checked her bank account. There it was, $500, transferred 3 days ago. But she hadn't done it. She called the bank's fraud department, spent 2 hours navigating systems. Yes, there was a transfer. No, they couldn't reverse it without proof. File a police report. Weeks to investigate. At 8 a.m., she arrived at Cross Tech. Diane was waiting, satisfaction in her smile. Mr. Cross wants to see you immediately. In his office, Ethan slid a folder across the desk. My security team investigated overnight. The transfer was made from your IP address. Tommy Reeves has been asking about you since his release. Someone hacked my account, or you made the transfer and are lying. His voice was clinical. I'm terminating your employment, effective immediately. 2 months severance. You're firing me because of evidence that appeared exactly when Vivian needed it. This is a business decision. This is a coward's decision. Arya stood, hands on his desk. You talk about wanting truth. But the first time that requires faith, faith without proof, you crumble. You hide behind evidence because it's safe. Miss Montgomery, I loved this job, not because of money, because someone finally saw me, and I was starting to see you too, the real you beneath the ice. Her voice broke. But you're right to fire me, because there's nothing beneath that ice, just more ice, and I deserve better than to freeze trying to warm someone who wants to stay cold. She walked toward the door. Arya. She stopped. If you're innocent, prove it. Find evidence, show me I'm wrong. Why should I? You've already decided. She looked back. And I'm done convincing people I'm worth believing in. She left. Ethan stood at the window, watching her disappear into the crowd, his chest aching. His phone buzzed. Security. Found something. You need to see this. Now. 3 hours later, Arya's doorbell rang. Tommy Reeves stood there. Older, harder, but his eyes were desperate. Hey, Arya. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. His hand blocked the door. You're in danger. Real danger. That rich guy, he's being played. You're being played. If you don't listen, you're going to end up dead. Arya's heart hammered. What are you talking about? Not here, they're watching. Come with me, please. I'm trying to save your life. Would you trust your criminal ex-boyfriend claiming to save you? The coffee shop was crowded. Tommy ordered black coffee he didn't drink. I got out 3 weeks ago, he said quietly. Was trying to start over. Then a blonde woman, rich, expensive, offered me $10,000 for a simple job. Arya's stomach tightened. Vivian. She wanted me to find you, follow you, let myself be photographed near your building. Told me exactly when you'd be leaving. Tommy looked up, haunted. I didn't know what it was for. 10,000 is a lot when you have nothing. The photograph. 3 days ago, she called again. Said there'd been a complication. Offered another 10,000. All I had to do was accept a bank transfer, $500, then withdraw it and burn it. His voice dropped. She told me the account number. Your account, Arya. She hacked my bank account. I figured that out when I saw the transfer. At first I thought you were in on it. Then I realized she was framing you. Why are you telling me this? Because last night she called again. Said you were more resilient than expected. And she needed you removed. Permanently. $50,000 to make you disappear. The room spun. She wants you to kill me. I told her no. That's when she reminded me I'm on parole, that she has evidence of me accepting stolen money. One phone call, I'm back in prison. Tommy's voice cracked. She said if I didn't handle it, she'd hire someone who would. Why didn't you just? Because I owe you. I dragged you into my mess 2 years ago. You walked away before it destroyed you. This is me trying to be decent again. He pulled out his phone. I recorded our last conversation, insurance. He pressed play. Vivian's voice, cold and clinical. I'm tired of waiting, Tommy. The girl needs to go. Make it look like an accident. 50,000 cash delivered when I confirm she's dead. And if you get caught, keep my name out of it or you'll never see freedom again. Tommy's voice. You're talking about murder. I'm talking about removing an obstacle. She's nobody. A foster kid with no family, no connections. No one will miss her. The recording ended. Take the phone, Tommy said. Go to the police. I'll testify to everything. I don't care if my parole gets revoked. I'm not letting you die. Arya spent the next hour at the police station. Detective Morrison was skeptical but agreed to investigate. This recording is admissible. If authentic, Ms. Ashford faces conspiracy to commit murder. But we need time to verify. Stay somewhere safe. I know exactly where I need to go. At 3:08 p.m., Arya walked into Crosstech's lobby. I need to see Ethan Cross. It's urgent. I'm sorry, but Mr. Cross left instructions. Tell him I have proof Vivian Ashford tried to have me killed. Tell him if he doesn't see me in 5 minutes, I'm going to the media with a story about how Crosstech's CEO fired an employee who was being framed, leaving her vulnerable to assassination. See how that plays in tomorrow's headlines. 3 minutes later, she was in the elevator. Ethan was waiting. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes held something new. Fear. You said you have proof. I do, but first I need you to understand something. When I left this morning, I was ready to disappear, to let you believe the worst, but I realized I was doing what you did, running because trust is terrifying. Her voice shook. So I'm going to show you this evidence, and then you're going to have to choose who you want to be. She pressed play. As Vivian's voice filled the office, casually discussing murder, Arya watched Ethan's face transform. The ice cracked. Rage flooded through. When it ended, Ethan gripped his desk, knuckles white. She tried to have you killed because I humiliated her at a restaurant, because she couldn't accept rejection. Yes, I fired you. He looked at her, anguish in his eyes. I looked at manufactured evidence and fired you without trusting my instincts, without trusting you. You were protecting yourself. No, I was protecting my fear. 10 years ago, I loved someone, trusted her completely, found out she'd been using me, stealing secrets, planning to destroy me. When I discovered the truth, it nearly broke me. I swore I'd never be vulnerable again. He moved toward her, stopping inches away. But you made me feel again. From the moment you stood up to Vivian, you made me feel hope, admiration, connection. And that terrified me more than any business failure. So when Vivian gave me an excuse to push you away, I took it. He cupped her face gently. I'm sorry, I should have trusted you, should have investigated instead of condemning. I failed you. You're here now. That's what matters. Here isn't enough. I'm going to fix this. Destroy Vivian so completely she'll wish she'd never heard your name. Restore your reputation, your job, everything she tried to take." His eyes held hers with intensity. "And when this is over, I'm going to ask you for something I have no right to ask for." "What?" "A chance. Not as your boss, but as a man who wants to know if the woman who made him feel again could ever care about the broken person underneath the ice." "I already care. I've cared since the moment you defended me." Ethan closed his eyes like her words physically struck him. "Then I'm going to spend every day proving I deserve that, starting now." He pressed the intercom. "Diane, get me legal. And get me Richard Ashford on the phone." As he made calls, sharp, commanding, Aria's phone buzzed. "Unknown number. You think you've won. You haven't. This isn't over." "V," she showed Ethan. His expression went dark and dangerous. "I'm not letting her touch you. Ever again. Even if I have to burn down everything she's built." Over 3 hours, Aria watched Ethan dismantle Vivian's life with surgical precision. He called Richard first, explaining everything. Richard, horrified, agreed to cooperate. Then Ethan called every business connection, every political favor, every social invitation. One by one, he pulled every thread holding the Ashford empire together. Crosstech is withdrawing support for the Ashford Foundation, pulling out of the joint venture, terminating all contracts. At 7 p.m., Detective Morrison called. "The recording's authentic. We're bringing in Vivian tonight. With your testimony and Mr. Reeves's cooperation, we have enough for arrest." "Make it public," Ethan said. "I want every outlet to know Vivian Ashford attempted murder because of jealousy. I want her face on every screen." When he hung up, Aria stood. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. She threatened your life. I will not let that stand." He moved toward her. "You asked who I want to be. I want to be the man who protects you, who fights for you, who would burn down the world to keep you safe. That's terrifying. I know, but it's true, and I'm done hiding from truth." Another text from Vivian. "He won't protect you forever. I always win." V. But this time Aria wasn't afraid, because she wasn't alone anymore. Would you trust a man who promises to burn down the world for you? The news broke at 9 p.m. Socialite Vivian Ashford arrested for conspiracy to commit murder. Aria watched from Ethan's office, unable to process this was real. "They're calling it the scandal of the decade," Ethan said. Richard issued a statement condemning his daughter. 3 board members resigned from their foundation. "This feels surreal. You're the woman who brought down one of the city's most powerful families. I didn't want to bring anyone down, I just wanted to survive. You did more than survive, you fought back." His voice softened. "You reminded me what courage looks like." They stood at the window, watching the city lights. For the first time, Ethan seemed peaceful. "You should go home. I've arranged security outside your building tonight, just a precaution. You think Vivian, she's in custody, but she has resources. I'm not taking chances." But at 11:47 p.m., Vivian posted bail, $5 million paid by her mother. At 12:30 a.m., she called Marcus Davenport, CEO of Davenport Industries, Ethan's biggest competitor. "She's weaker than we thought, but he's stronger. We need to hit him where he's vulnerable." "And where is that?" "His heart. We destroy her completely, not physically, but in every other way, and we destroy him too." Vivian smiled, vicious. "Everyone thinks she's the innocent victim, but what if we reveal the truth about who Aria Montgomery really is? Once the world sees her secrets, Ethan will abandon her. And when he does, that's when you strike at Crosstech. Bold plan. I have nothing left to lose. Make your move, Vivian. I'll be ready. Aria woke to her phone exploding. Texts, emails, missed calls. Then she saw Ethan's text, "Don't look at the news, coming to get you now." But she looked. Billionaire's victim has criminal past. Aria Montgomery's secret connection to organized crime exposed. The article was everywhere. Sources reveal Montgomery maintained contact with Tommy Reeves throughout his prison sentence, visiting multiple times. Financial records show payments from accounts linked to the Southside crew. Phone records indicate ongoing communication with multiple criminals. Was Montgomery truly innocent, or a willing participant who manipulated Ethan Cross? Sources within Crosstech suggest Montgomery had access to sensitive information and may have been selling secrets. Every detail was technically true, but twisted into something monstrous. Ethan called. "Don't believe it. It's Vivian." "But it's all technically true," Aria whispered. "I did visit Tommy. I did have contact with people who made mistakes. The internet doesn't care about context. I don't care what people think. You should care. Crosstech stock is tanking. Your board is panicking. Everything you built is being destroyed because you chose to believe in me. Aria, I'm coming to your office. We need to fix this together." The lobby was chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Employees stared as Aria passed. Diane smiled triumphantly. "Mr. Cross is in an emergency board meeting. They're discussing the company's response. They've been in there 2 hours. I hear several members want your arrest for corporate espionage." Aria pushed past toward his office. Through glass walls, she saw Ethan at the conference table, surrounded by serious suits. His expression was pure ice, but his eyes were exhausted. He saw her and stood. "We're taking a break." He walked out, closing the door. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you from yourself." "How bad is it?" "Stock dropped 12%. 3 investors called emergency meetings. The board wants me to distance myself from you. Some want me to press charges." His jaw tightened. "I told them that's not happening." "Ethan, you can't." "Yes, I can. I don't care if the stock drops 50%. I'm not abandoning you. This isn't just manufactured. There's truth in those articles. Twisted truth. I did visit Tommy in prison. I did know people with records. And now those choices are destroying you." "They're not destroying me." "Yes, they are. Your board is ready to mutiny. Your investors are fleeing, all because you chose to trust someone the world decided is guilty. The world is wrong." "The world doesn't care." Tears streamed down her face. "I love that you're willing to fight for me, but I can't let you lose everything for someone who... For someone who what? Who's poor? Who made mistakes?" He grabbed her shoulders gently. "Don't you dare say you're not worth it. You're worth everything. Not your company, not your legacy. My company means nothing without the person I've become since meeting you." He stopped, eyes wide, like he'd almost said something he wasn't ready to say. "Someone you what?" Before he could answer, the conference door opened. Margaret Chen, chair of the board, stepped out. "Mr. Cross, we're voting on a motion to remove you as CEO if you don't comply with our demands regarding Miss Montgomery." Silence. "Excuse me." Ethan's voice was dangerous. "The board has lost confidence in your judgment. You've allowed personal feelings to compromise the company. You're emotionally compromised." Margaret's voice was cold but not unkind. "Distance yourself from Miss Montgomery publicly. Condemn her actions. Repair Crosstech's reputation. Or we remove you as CEO. You have until end of business today." They were forcing him to choose between his company and her. You can't remove me. I'm the majority shareholder. You're the majority shareholder, but the board can remove a CEO acting against company interests. You'll retain shares and board position but won't run Crosstech anymore. Get out! The roar echoed through the floor. Margaret flinched but held ground. End of business day. Your choice, your company, or her. She left. Ethan stood frozen, chest heaving, hands clenched. Ethan, Arya whispered, you know what you have to do. Don't tell me to choose the company. Crosstech is your life. Your legacy means nothing compared to you. That's emotion talking. In a month, when the company's run by someone else, you'll resent me, and I can't survive being hated by you. I could never hate you. You hated the woman who betrayed you. You built walls, and here I am, forcing you to tear them down. Her voice broke. Choose the company, it's the smart choice. And what happens to you? I survive. I always do. I'll leave the city, start over. Eventually this blows over, and you'll still have Crosstech. I don't want my legacy without you. You'll learn to want it again, make the smart choice, save your company, I'll be okay. Arya, I'm leaving now, and you're going to let me, because if you follow, you lose everything. I love you. The words stopped her like a bullet. She turned slowly. Ethan stood there, eyes bright with unshed tears. I love you, Arya Montgomery. I didn't think I was capable anymore, but you brought it back. You made me feel again, made me believe in something beyond profit margins. His voice dropped. And I will not choose a company over the person who saved me from being empty forever. Ethan, please. No. You asked who I wanted to be. I want to be the man brave enough to choose love over fear. Strong enough to walk away from everything safe for something real and terrifying. I'm choosing you, even if it costs me Crosstech, even if the world thinks I'm a fool. Arya stared, tears streaming, heart breaking and healing. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but I'll regret losing you more. He cupped her face. I'm walking back into that conference room. I'm telling the board I won't distance myself from you, won't condemn you. If they remove me, so be it. I'll find another way to fight, another way to clear your name. And if you lose everything, then I lose everything with you. I've been rich and empty. I'd rather be poor and whole. Before she could respond, his phone rang and rang. Finally, cursing, he answered. What? His expression changed, annoyance to confusion to shock. Say that again. Are you certain? When can you send the full report? Immediately. I want it on every desk in 5 minutes. He hung up, eyes blazing. What is it? That was security. They've been investigating Vivian's claims. His smile was sharp and dangerous. They found proof that every piece of evidence was fabricated or obtained through bribes. The financial records were falsified, phone records manufactured. The sources inside Crosstech don't exist. Arya's knees went weak. What? Vivian and Marcus Davenport orchestrated everything, paid reporters, hired hackers, bribed officials. They committed fraud, libel, conspiracy. And we have proof of all of it. But the articles are out there. Then we'll undo it. Press conference, show the evidence, expose them, clear your name so completely nobody will ever doubt you. And the board can go to hell. They wanted proof you were innocent. I'm about to give them proof you were deliberately targeted. Arya clung to him. You were really going to give up Crosstech for me? Without hesitation. That's the most terrifying and beautiful thing anyone's ever said. Get used to it, because I'm not done saying terrifying and beautiful things to you." Margaret emerged, tablet in hand, stunned. "Ethan, we just received a security report. Is this real?" "Every word. The board owes Miss Montgomery an apology, and me the courtesy of trusting my judgment." Margaret's expression softened. "It seems we do." "I apologize, Miss Montgomery. The board is reconvening. We'd like to hear your plan." "My plan is simple," Ethan said, his voice cold and precise. "We destroy everyone who tried to destroy Arya, completely and without mercy, starting now. Would you let someone risk everything to prove your innocence?" The press conference was scheduled for 3:00 p.m. By 2 p.m., the Crosstech auditorium was packed. News vans lined the street. Helicopters circled overhead. The entire city was watching. Backstage, Arya stared at her reflection. Navy suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked like someone who belonged. But inside, she was still the scared foster kid who'd learned to be invisible. "You ready?" Ethan appeared, his hand finding hers. He wore charcoal, his expression calm, but his hand shook slightly. "No. I've spent my whole life trying not to be seen. In 5 minutes, I'm standing in front of the world. You don't have to do this. I can handle it alone." "No. I'm done being invisible. If I'm going to be visible, I'm controlling what people see." Ethan smiled, fierce and proud. "Then let's show them who Arya Montgomery really is." At 3:00 p.m., Ethan walked on stage. The room exploded with camera flashes and shouted questions. He stood silent until the room quieted. "Thank you for coming. I'm here to address the allegations against Arya Montgomery and present evidence that will fundamentally change this narrative." He pressed a button. The screen lit up with documents, phone records, timestamps. 48 hours ago, articles claimed Arya Montgomery had criminal connections and manipulated me. These articles contained what appeared to be factual evidence. His voice turned cold. What they didn't mention was that every piece was fabricated. A murmur rippled through the crowd. "My security team discovered a coordinated campaign orchestrated by Vivian Ashford and Marcus Davenport." He clicked to the next slide. Bank transfers. "These show payments from Vivian to journalists, hackers, investigators. The purpose? To create false evidence." The murmuring grew. "The financial records showing payments from criminal organizations, fabricated by hired hackers, phone records manufactured using spoofed numbers. Sources inside Crosstech, they don't exist. They were invented." He clicked through more slides, each more damning. "Furthermore, we have recorded evidence verified by independent forensic experts, proving Vivian Ashford solicited Tommy Reeves to murder Arya Montgomery. When that failed, she partnered with Marcus Davenport to destroy Miss Montgomery's reputation, with the goal of destabilizing Crosstech." The room erupted. Journalists shouted. Cameras flashed. Ethan raised his hand. "These findings have been shared with law enforcement. Additional charges are being filed against both Vivian Ashford and Marcus Davenport. Crosstech is also filing civil suits for corporate sabotage and defamation." He paused. "But facts only tell part of the story. The human part can only be told by the person who lived it. Arya Montgomery has agreed to share her story." He stepped back and extended his hand. Arya took a deep breath and walked into the lights. The room fell silent as she approached the podium. She felt hundreds of eyes, cameras tracking her, the weight of judgment pressing down. "My name is Arya Montgomery," she began, voice soft but steady. I'm 23 years old. I was raised in foster care after my mother died when I was 8. I've worked since I was 14. I've been hungry, homeless, and invisible most of my life. She gripped the podium, meeting journalists' eyes. 2 weeks ago, I was working 3 minimum wage jobs. I was a waitress when I witnessed Vivian Ashford verbally abuse Ethan Cross during a date. I watched her treat him like a commodity. When she turned her cruelty on me, insulting me for being poor, for smelling like the coffee shop where I'd worked, I did something I'd never done. I defended myself. Her voice grew stronger. That decision changed my life. Ethan offered me a job, an opportunity I never thought someone like me would get. I took it, knowing I'd face judgment, knowing people would assume the worst, knowing girls from my background don't usually get fairy tale endings. She clicked to a new slide, photos of her studio apartment, pay stubs, letters from foster families. These are the facts of my life. I'm poor, I've made mistakes. I've known people who made worse mistakes. But I'm not a criminal. I'm not a manipulator. I'm just someone trying to survive in a world that told me I didn't matter. Her voice cracked. When Vivian framed me, she knew people would believe the worst about someone like me. That my poverty, my background, my connections to people society discarded, she knew all that made me an easy target. She was counting on nobody defending me, on me being invisible again. She looked into the cameras, but she was wrong, because one person saw me, really saw me, not as a poor girl or a threat, as a human being worth defending, worth believing in, worth fighting for. She glanced at Ethan, who stood at the stage edge, eyes locked on her with intensity. Ethan Cross risked his reputation, his company, and his carefully constructed walls to stand by me when everyone said he shouldn't. He chose truth over convenience, courage over fear. That's not a billionaire saving a poor girl. That's two people who were both broken, finding courage to be whole together. Silence. So yes, I was poor. Yes, I knew people who made bad choices. Yes, I'm exactly who Vivian said I was, except I'm not a criminal, I'm not a liar, and I refuse to be invisible anymore. Her voice rang clear. I'm standing here to tell anyone who's been told they don't matter, who's been judged for where they came from, who's been made to feel invisible. You are seen, you matter, and you deserve to fight for your truth. She stepped back. The room exploded with applause, genuine, thunderous applause. Journalists were standing, cameras flashing. Ethan crossed the stage and pulled her into his arms, not caring that hundreds of cameras captured it. "You were perfect," he whispered. "Absolutely perfect." I was terrified. That's what made it perfect. You were real. The aftermath was swift and brutal. For Vivian and Marcus. Within hours, Marcus was arrested. His company's stock plummeted. Board members scrambled to distance themselves. Vivian's bail was revoked. She returned to custody, facing multiple felonies with overwhelming evidence. Her mother faced charges too. The Ashford empire crumbled in days. Richard Ashford appeared on news, face drawn. I failed as a father. I gave my daughter everything except character to handle adversity. I'm cooperating fully and accepting responsibility for not seeing the monster I enabled. It was devastating, but Arya felt no satisfaction, only sadness. Is it wrong that I feel sorry for them? Arya asked that evening in his office, her office too now as executive liaison. It's not wrong. It's human. Ethan looked at the city. Vivienne could have been different. If she'd been raised with different values, she might have been someone worth knowing. Do you think people can change? I'm proof they can. 3 weeks ago, I was convinced feelings were liabilities. Trust was weakness. The only thing that mattered was protecting myself. His smile was soft. Then a waitress defended herself and everything I knew fell apart. Arya stood beside him. I'm still not sure this is real, that I'm here, with you, that I won't wake up and realize it was a dream. It's real. He took her hand, threading fingers through hers. And it's just beginning. What happens now? Now we rebuild. Your reputation is restored. Crosstech is stronger. Investors like CEOs who fight for principles. The board apologized and offered you a seat on the advisory committee. Me? On an advisory committee? Arya laughed. I barely graduated community college. And you understand struggle in ways nobody else in that room will. You see angles they miss. You ask questions they don't think to ask. Crosstech needs your perspective. I need your perspective. For how long? How long before you realize I don't actually belong? Ethan turned to face her fully. Arya Montgomery, you didn't get lucky. You didn't stumble into this life. You earned everything through courage, intelligence, and will. You survived a system designed to break you. You defended yourself when no one else would. You stood up to billionaires and criminals. You're the strongest person I've ever met. I don't feel strong. That's trauma, and trauma heals with time and safety and people who love you. He cupped her face. I love you, Arya. Not the idea of you, not some fantasy. You, the real, complicated, scared, brave, incredible person in front of me. And I will spend as long as you'll let me proving you belong in this office, in this world, and with me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you too. I'm terrified of how much. Good. That means it's real. He smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes completely. No ice, no walls, just warmth. So here's what I'm thinking. We take things slow. Date like normal people, well, as normal as a billionaire CEO and his executive liaison can be. Figure out what we want without pressure. And if somewhere down the line you decide you want more, I'll be ready. More like what? More like forever. More like building something together bigger than either of us alone. More like a life not about money or status or what the world thinks, but about two people who chose each other when it would have been easier to walk away. Arya's heart felt too big. That sounds terrifying. It is terrifying, but it's also real, and I'm done with safe and empty. I want terrifying and real. Even if I mess up, even if I don't always know the right thing, especially then, because perfect is boring, perfect is fake. I want messy and real and human. I want you exactly as you are. Arya kissed him then, hands in his hair, pouring everything she couldn't say into the kiss. He responded immediately, pulling her close, one hand at the small of her back, the other cradling her face like she was precious. When they broke apart, breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. For the record, he murmured, I'm never letting you go. Good, Arya whispered, because I'm done being invisible, and I want to be seen by you for the rest of my life. 1 week later, Arya stood in her new townhouse, not extravagant, but comfortable, safe, hers. She'd furnished it simply, mixing thrift finds with new pieces. Photos lined the mantel, her and Ethan at the press conference, her first day back, even one with Tommy before he left for his new life, determined to stay clean. Her phone buzzed. Ethan, dinner tonight. There's something I want to show you. She smiled. Always. Another text. And Arya, wear something special. Tonight matters. Her heart skipped. How special? Life-changing special. She stared at the message, 1,000 possibilities racing. But she wasn't afraid anymore. Whatever came next, whatever life-changing moment Ethan planned, she was ready. Because she wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen, loved, and finally home. Arya changed 3 times before settling on a simple black dress, elegant but not overdone, life-changing special. Her hands trembled applying lipstick, mind racing. Was he offering a partnership, some new venture? Was he... No, too soon, too fast. The doorbell rang at 7:00 p.m. Ethan stood there in navy suit holding a single white rose. His ice blue eyes softened seeing her. "You're beautiful. You said that at the gala. I'll say it every day for the rest of our lives if you'll let me." He offered his arm. "Ready? For what?" "You'll see." The car took them to the waterfront, stopping at a private pier. At the end sat a yacht, sleek and beautiful, gleaming under evening lights. "Ethan, what is this?" "Trust me." The deck had been transformed. String lights created a canopy of stars. A small table was set for 2, candles flickering. Soft music played from hidden speakers. "I wanted tonight private," he said, pulling out her chair. "Away from cameras and people who think they know our story. Just us." A chef appeared and served the first course, but Arya barely tasted it. She was too aware of Ethan watching her with intensity. "You're nervous," he observed. "You said life-changing. That makes people nervous. Would it help if I told you I'm nervous too?" "You? Nervous?" "Terrified, actually. Because what I'm about to say matters more than any business deal. And unlike business, I can't control the outcome." Arya's heart hammered. "What are you about to say?" Ethan set down his fork, taking her hand. "Do you remember what you said at the press conference about being invisible until someone really saw you?" "Yes. You saw me too. You saw past the ice and walls and distance. You saw the person I'd buried so deep I'd forgotten he existed." His thumb traced circles on her palm. 3 weeks ago, I was successful, powerful, rich, and completely empty. I'd convinced myself emptiness was safety, that if I never felt anything, I could never be hurt. And now? Now I feel everything. Yes, it's terrifying. Yes, it makes me vulnerable, but it also makes me alive in a way I haven't been in 10 years. He stood, still holding her hand, and knelt beside her chair. "You changed my life, Arya Montgomery. You made me believe in second chances, in trust, in love. And I don't want to waste another moment pretending I'm not completely, irrevocably, terrifyingly in love with you." Arya couldn't breathe. "I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 3 weeks. I know the world will say we're crazy. But I've spent 10 years being careful and safe, and I'm done. I want messy and real and terrifying with you." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. Arya's breath caught. "I'm not asking you to marry me," Ethan said quickly. "Not yet. Not until you're ready. But I wanted you to have this." He opened the box, a simple silver band with a single diamond. "It's a promise that I see you, all of you, the scared parts and brave parts and everything between. A promise that I will fight for you, defend you, believe in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. A promise that you will never be invisible again." He took the ring, holding it between them. "Arya Montgomery, will you accept this promise? Will you let me prove every day that you deserve to be seen, loved and cherished? Will you give me the honor of building a life together, slowly, carefully, at whatever pace feels right, knowing that wherever we end up, I'll be beside you?" Arya was sobbing. "Yes," she choked out. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times, yes." Ethan slipped the ring onto her right hand, not the left, because this wasn't engagement, but something equally profound, a promise. He stood, pulling her up, and kissed her like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Arya kissed back with everything, all her fear, hope, desperate love for this complicated, damaged, incredible man who'd chosen her. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "I need you to know something. This isn't about money or status. If tomorrow I lost Crosstech, lost everything, I would still choose you. If we had to start over with nothing, I would still choose you. You are the only thing in my life that actually matters. You're not going to lose Crosstech. I know. But I needed you to hear that. My love isn't conditional. It's just you. Always you." They stood wrapped in each other as the yacht rocked gently and city lights twinkled in the distance. "So what happens now?" Arya asked. "Now we have dinner. Talk about everything and nothing. Make plans and break them. Figure out what building a life together looks like." He pulled back to look at her. "And when you're ready, could be months, could be years, I'm going to ask you properly, ring on the correct hand, question that changes everything. What if I'm never ready? Then I'll spend forever waiting, because you're worth waiting for." They had dinner, talked for hours, about childhoods and dreams and fears, about the company and Arya's ideas for programs helping foster kids, about traveling, about building something together bigger than either of them. At midnight, they stood at the railing watching moonlight on dark water. "Thank you," Arya said softly. "For what?" "For seeing me, for fighting for me, for making me believe I deserve to be visible. Thank you for teaching me how to feel again, for being brave enough to trust someone who'd forgotten how to trust himself." He kissed her head. "We saved each other, Arya. That's not a fairy tale, that's truth." And maybe that was the real story. Not poor girl rescued by billionaire, but two broken people who found courage to heal together. 1 year later, the Montgomery Foundation headquarters occupied a renovated building in the city's heart, accessible, welcoming, filled with light and possibility. Arya stood in the main hall, watching teenagers from foster care attend workshops on coding, business, art, financial literacy. The program she'd designed, funded by Crosstech and donors she'd convinced, now served 200 kids across 3 cities. "They look happy," Tommy said beside her, clean-cut, wearing a staff badge. "Sober for a year, certified, now a mentor coordinator." "They look like they matter," Arya corrected, "because they do. You did this, took all the pain and struggle and turned it into something changing lives. We did this. You, me, Ethan, everyone who believed these kids deserve a chance. It's not one person, it's all of us choosing to see the invisible." Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, board meeting ran late. Be there in 10 minutes. I have news." Arya smiled. In the year since that yacht night, they'd built something beautiful. Not just the foundation, but a life. They'd traveled to Tokyo and Paris, spent quiet weekends at his lake house, weathered small arguments and big decisions, learned each other's rhythms and fears and dreams. And through it all, the promise ring reminded her, She was seen, loved, and would never be invisible again. Ethan arrived 10 minutes later, slightly disheveled, tie loosened, but his eyes lit up seeing her. "You're here." He crossed the hall for a quick kiss. "Sorry I'm late. Singapore expansion is..." He stopped. "Actually, that's not why I'm here. I have something for you." "For me?" He pulled out an envelope. "Open it." Inside was a letter on official government letterwork, signed by the mayor and city council. The city council is pleased to announce that the intersection of 5th Street and Commerce Avenue will henceforth be designated as Montgomery Way, in honor of Aria Montgomery's extraordinary service to foster youth and tireless advocacy for the city's most vulnerable citizens. Aria's vision blurred. "They named a street after me? They wanted to recognize what you've built, what you represent." His voice was thick. "The girl who was invisible for 23 years now has a street named after her. Your name will be on that sign forever. Every kid who walks past will know that someone like them made a difference." Aria couldn't speak. "There's more." He pulled out another velvet box, different from a year ago, but familiar. Aria's breath caught. "1 year ago, I gave you a promise," Ethan said, voice shaking. "I promised to see you, fight for you, love you, never let you be invisible. I've tried every day to keep that promise. And now..." He opened the box, platinum band with a single diamond, catching light like captured starlight. "Now I want to make a different promise." He sank to one knee in the foundation hall, surrounded by kids and staff and the life they'd built. "Aria Montgomery, you changed my world. You taught me vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. That trust is a gift. That love is worth every risk." His eyes held hers with certainty. "I want to spend the rest of my life making sure you know how extraordinary you are. I want to build a family with you, however that looks. I want to grow old beside you, face every challenge together, celebrate every victory. I want everything, Aria. The beautiful parts and messy parts and terrifying parts, all of it, with you." Tears streamed as Ethan's voice grew stronger. "So I'm asking you properly this time, with the right hand and right question. Aria Montgomery, will you marry me?" The hall went silent. Teenagers stopped. Staff had tears. Even Tommy was crying. "Yes," Aria whispered. Then louder, "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Ethan stood, sliding the ring onto her left hand this time, and kissed her as the foundation erupted in cheers. When they broke apart, laughing and crying, Ethan held her close. "I love you," he murmured. "My brave, brilliant, incredible Aria. I love you too. My impossible, wonderful, perfectly imperfect Ethan." Around them, the teenagers cheered, the invisible kids finally being seen, celebrating like this was their victory. And maybe it was, because they were watching two people who'd refused to accept that their pasts defined their futures, who'd chosen love over fear, courage over safety, truth over convenience, who'd proved that sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is simply refuse to be invisible. 6 months later, the wedding was small, just close friends, cross-tech executives who'd become family, foundation kids, carefully selected guests. Richard Ashford attended, sober and sad but genuinely happy. Vivian was serving 7 years. Her mother had served reduced time. Marcus's company had been absorbed, but none of that mattered today. Aria walked down the aisle in simple white, elegant, exactly like her. Tommy walked beside her. "You deserve this," Tommy whispered. "Every bit of happiness. So do you. We all do. Ethan stood at the altar, and when their eyes met, Arya saw everything she'd ever wanted. Love, trust, partnership, home. They'd written their own vows. Arya, Ethan began, voice thick, you taught me being seen isn't about power or money. It's about letting someone know the real you and having them love you anyway. You saw me when I was nothing but ice, and you loved me into being human again. I promise to see you every day for the rest of our lives. I promise you'll never feel invisible. And I promise to be brave enough to let you see me too. I love you, completely, forever. Arya was crying. Ethan, for 23 years, I believed I didn't matter, that I was invisible, that people like me don't get happy endings. Then you saw me, really saw me, and you taught me I was wrong. I matter, I'm visible, and happy endings aren't given, they're built, one brave choice at a time. I promise to keep choosing you every day. I promise to see you, not the CEO, but the man who's scared and brave and perfectly imperfect. I promise to build a life about love, not money, about connection, not status, about being real, not perfect. I love you, impossibly, completely, forever. When the officiant pronounced them married, Ethan kissed her like she was everything because to him she was. The reception was joyful. Foundation kids gave sweet, hilarious toasts. Cross-tech executives mingled with former foster kids. Tommy danced and looked happier than ever. Late evening, Arya and Ethan slipped to a quiet balcony. How does it feel to be Mrs. Cross? Strange, wonderful, terrifying. Arya laughed. Also, I'm keeping Montgomery professionally. The foundation needs that name. I love that, and I love you. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for taking a chance on the broken billionaire. Thank you for taking a chance on the invisible waitress. She looked up. We saved each other. This isn't a fairy tale where the prince rescues the poor girl. This is a real story where two broken people healed together. Best story I've ever been part of. 5 years later, the Montgomery Foundation now operated in 12 cities, serving over 2,000 foster youth annually. Arya had been featured in Forbes' Time TED Talks. She testified before Congress. She'd become the visible face of invisible children everywhere. Crosstech had expanded globally, with Arya on the board, Ethan often joking his wife was a better executive than he'd ever been. But their proudest achievement was sitting in their living room, Sophie, 7, and James, 5. Both adopted from foster care, both thriving in a home filled with love. "Mama, Papa," Sophie called, "come see what we built." An elaborate tower of blocks stood precariously. "We made it tall enough to touch the sky," James announced proudly. "Like you always say, Mama," Sophie added. "Nothing's impossible if someone believes in you." Arya knelt beside her children, heart so full it ached. "That's exactly right. You can build anything, be anything, because you matter. You are seen. And you are so loved." Ethan crouched beside them, arm around Arya. "Want to hear a secret?" They leaned in, eyes wide. "Your mama taught me that. Before I met her, I'd forgotten how to believe in impossible things. But she reminded me that the best things in life, love, family, happiness, they all seemed impossible until someone was brave enough to believe anyway." Sophie looked at Arya with awe. "Mama, were you scared when you were brave?" "Always. Bravery isn't not being scared. It's being scared and doing the hard thing anyway. Like when you defended yourself at the restaurant, Sophie's favorite bedtime tale. Exactly. I was terrified, but I did it anyway, and that one moment changed everything. James hugged Arya tight. "I'm glad you were brave, because then you met Papa, and then you adopted us, and now we're a family." "Best family in the world," Ethan said, pulling them into a group hug. Later that night, after kids were asleep, Arya and Ethan stood in their bedroom, comfortable domestic routine that still felt miraculous. "Do you ever think about how different everything could have been?" Arya asked. "If I hadn't spoken up? If you hadn't offered me the job? If we'd both chosen safety over courage? Every day, and every day, I'm grateful we were both brave enough." "Me too." Arya moved to stand before him. 6 years of marriage, 7 of knowing each other, and she still felt butterflies. "Thank you for seeing me, Ethan Cross. Thank you for teaching me how to see, and for proving the best things aren't the ones you plan for. They're the ones you're brave enough to believe in when everyone says you shouldn't." They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise, the same promise Ethan made 7 years ago when he swore she'd never be invisible again. He'd kept that promise every day. And Arya kept hers, seeing past the ice to the man underneath, loving him not despite his scars but including them. Together, they'd built something impossible, a love that was real, messy, imperfect, and absolutely unbreakable. This is the story of Arya Montgomery and Ethan Cross, the girl who learned she was worth seeing, the man who learned how to feel again. But it's also your story. If you've ever felt invisible, ever been told you don't matter because of where you came from or how much money you have or what mistakes you've made, you matter, you are seen. And your story doesn't end with your past. It begins with the courage to believe you deserve a future. If this story of hope, redemption, and love that defies expectations touched your heart, please like this video, leave a comment sharing what resonated with you, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories that will inspire you to believe in the impossible. Remember, the most revolutionary thing you can do is refuse to be invisible. Stand up, speak truth, fight for your worth, because somewhere out there, someone is waiting to see the real you, and when they do, everything changes. Until next time, stay brave, stay visible, and never stop believing in second chances.